Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Write the Vision.
Write the vision, make it plain, that they may run and not faint. Though the vision is only for a while, it shall speak and not lie. For if Yah said it, you can count on it. He will do just what He said. Write the vision, make it plain, that they may run and not faint. Though the vision is only for a while, it shall speak and not lie. For if Yah said it, you can count on it. He will do just what He said. It is done. Yes, it is done. He will do just what He said. It is done. Yes, it is done. He will do just what He said. He will do just what He will do just what He will do just what He said. Write the vision, make it plain, that they may run and not faint. Though the vision is only for a while, it shall speak and not lie. For if Yah said it, you can count on it. He will do just what He said. Write the vision, write the vision, write the vision, write the vision.
The Oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for Yahshua's sake, has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. From time to time, we get questions the way that the word is, as we may be walking in the word. There are other people just beginning in the word. So you get a whole lot of questions, and sometimes we want it to be like a little cookie cutter thing when you try to deal with this word. But what we have to do is first shed all of the old foundation that we've gathered from other places. And you have to just look at the way that things are going, and you'll understand how the powers that be have always reacted. Anything that comes out against the public policy has now been deemed misinformation. It will automatically get that title if it does not go along with the status quo. Now, some of that is misinformation, all right? But this is where the things get, cloudy. You couple that with some of the very things that are coming out, laws that are being passed, making it illegal to talk about slavery. So they couldn't call talking about slavery misinformation. So then now you have representatives trying to push laws to make it illegal to talk about what their ancestors did to our ancestors. So you can't just say anytime somebody talks about slavery, oh, that's misinformation. But if you make it illegal to speak about it in school, you will produce generations and generations of children who have absolutely no idea of what their people have gone through. and it fits the plan to merge us all into one people, which is what seems to be happening. But for any conquering nation, that's what they have to do. You have to consider any of the other conquerors that have gone and tried to conquer the whole earth. What ended up taking place? You end up with all these different ethnicities of people. So you have to, in some way, create a way for all these different ethnic groups to believe that they are one. And the brand of Christianity did that for the Euro-Gentiles. And what they did in that process was merge all the other gods that they had worshipped in all of the other places that they had conquered. So all of the things that we call holidays are the merging of other ethnic groups together. And when I say ethnic groups, a lot of times people think I'm just dealing with white versus black. But you have to understand that there were many different ethnic separations, even with the Gentiles. The Gentiles were not all together. They were separated into different groups. So this group worshiped this God. This group worshiped that God. So in putting all of that together in their conquering spirit, they had to find a way to put all of those gods under the same umbrella. So rather than making all these different religions, let's go ahead, adopt this one thing, which would have been fine had they adopted that one thing and left it alone. But then they brought all of the gods of all the other lands that they had conquered and merged them all into one. So now we deal with all of these things as if they were always a part of Christianity. We have all of these things where we celebrate things like watch night that you can't find in the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. It's not in there anywhere. Yet 99% of churches are celebrating watch night on New Year's Eve. And you can't find it anywhere in the Bible. That is just one of the instances of the merging of all these other cultures and then placing them up under the umbrella that is called Christianity. So for that, Christianity gets a bad name, but if it was dealt with in the way that it was given, it wouldn't have such a bad name. But it was for the ruler's intent of creating that umbrella that caused some issues. And that also caused a lot of questions with the Apostle Paul. It is said, a lot of people said, he's confusing. I can't understand him. Well, you got to take, the first note of understanding who he is and what he's been charged with. Okay? Peter was definitely, Cephas was to be the teacher to the Jews. When you deal with Saul, who is sent to the Gentiles, you also have to understand that there are many Jews amongst those Gentiles. So now he has to deal with these two groups of individuals, and they are very, very different. Okay? So then while you're dealing with that and you start reading things, you have to deal with who's talking and who are they talking to. Otherwise, you get the wrong idea when he is teaching, because you're not separating which thing goes to everybody, which things goes to the Gentiles, and which things go to the children of Israel. And if you're not making that separation, you're causing yourself some issues. So we're going to begin today's sermon in Acts chapter 7. Acts chapter 7, and we're going to start that at verse 54. And we're going to read it through chapter 8 and verse 4. Acts 7 and verse 54 through chapter 8 and verse 4. And today's sermon is entitled, The Apostle Paul, Father of Christianity or Son of Hebraic Culture.
Verse 54. When they heard these things, they were cut to the heart, and they gnashed on him with their teeth.
This is what ends up happening whenever you start dealing with the truth. Whether it be Jews or Gentiles, if you deal with this word in its truth, you're going to have people gnashing against you with their teeth. They're going to bite with those words. Because that's what the truth of the word does. It brings forth a mirror to make one examine himself. And when people don't want to examine themselves, instead of looking at that person in the mirror and say, I don't like what I see, they gonna gnash their teeth at you. Well, I don't like you because you said it. Go ahead.
But he, being full of the Holy Spirit, looked up steadfastly into heaven, and saw the glory of Elohim and Yahshua standing on the right hand of Elohim. And he said, Behold, I see the heavens open, and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of Elohim.
Now, and to other people, this is straight blasphemy. Here is the issue. How do you know what someone else is seeing? Especially when you're not walking the walk that they walk. Go ahead.
Then they cried out with a loud voice, and stopped their ears, and ran upon him with one accord, and cast him out of the city, and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their clothes at a young man's feet, whose name was Saul.
So understand, this is the basis of where Saul comes from. He is a part of a group who is very strict in Yahweh's law. You know, this is part of the thing that creates this belief. Everybody wants to be called an apostle, because they believe that these people don't have a teacher, that these people are self-guided by God, not understanding that this man has been taught from ground up. Okay? See, when the Spirit come to you, it ain't teaching you your ABCs. You got to learn your ABCs on your own. When the Spirit bring you the words, you have to already know your letters. So the Spirit got to bring you the word and the letter? Go ahead.
You know, my brother, when you look at this situation, and if you picture it, this young Saul standing there while this is going on, and we think about the pictures that we've seen with our brothers and sisters hanging and the young kids watching, what kind of mindset does that put? Because we see where Saul began to go before the change come. So what direction did a lot of them little kids go?
Exactly. It was set up for them to go that way. You know, those images were sealed in their brains. So this is his upbringing. This is what he sees. He sees all of these people as something is wrong with these individuals if they're not dealing with this law in the strictest form. Go ahead.
And they stoned Stephen, calling upon Elohim and saying, Adonai Yahshua, receive my spirit. And he kneeled down and cried with a loud voice, Adonai, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. And Saul was consenting unto his death.
And why would he not be? This is what he was brought up doing. Okay? He is a part of a group. This is why my elder used to always warn people about the cliques. See, you find people that'll be in the same congregation, but there'll still be different cliques in the same group. When the only clique we supposed to be with is Yahshua. If it don't agree with this word, we supposed to exit that clique. But this is what made people stay in bad situations, and bad relationships, and all these bad things year after year after year. Why? Because they down with that clique. Many brothers in prison right now because of the people that they hung out with. And guess what? They don't put y'all in the same cell. So if you think that, saying, we down like that, well, you're going to be down all right. But you're going to be down over here, and they're going to be down there. Or you might commit crime together, but and they might give you time together, but you won't do that time together. One of y'all in Kansas, the other one in Florida. Let's see how down y'all are then. Go ahead.
And at that time there was a great persecution against the church which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. And devout men carried Stephen to his burial, and made great lamentation over him. As for Saul, he made havoc of the church, entering into every house.
Now, picture that now. Entering into every house. Go ahead.
And hailing men and women, committed them to prison.
Check that out. Coming in your house. Hey man, you in here, y'all in here talking about Yahshua? What is this right here? What is it, this literature? Get him out of here. Drag him out. Now this is him. This is why this is causing fear in other people, because they have heard of what he has done. Go ahead.
Therefore, they that were scattered abroad went everywhere preaching the word.
So even the persecution had a purpose. See, we might want to do some things, and people call themselves to do some things, but Yahweh will allow one thing because it's going to do something else. Let's go to our Acts chapter 9, and let's start that at verse 1.
And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Adonai, went on to the high priest.
Now, he feels completely justified in the things that he is doing against the church. Completely justified. Go ahead.
You know, also look at the first set of people in 1948 that went in to Israel. We know they weren't confident in them saying, hey, we the Yehudis or we Yehudim, because they knew better. But as that generation went on and was instilled in them that this is our land, this belongs, then they're just like he's real brave right now, bold. Then you get that, no, this is our place. Who are y'all?
Right. Go ahead.
And desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound on to Jerusalem.
Right. Letters, this is your license. So he has license. He's a spiritual bounty hunter. Remember them days when they used to go and capture slaves and they pull out the piece of paper? Right here, you see this right here? It says we're going to pick up James T. Johnson and throw him in the back of the wagon. Done deal. They got papers. That's what he's talking about. He got letters. Anybody come? Read that. Oh, okay, let him go. Go ahead.
And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus. And suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven.
Keep in mind now, he is a spiritual bounty hunter on his way to do his business. And he's been doing this business and feeling that he's right. Go ahead.
And he fell to the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecute you me?
Now, this is one of the interesting things you have to notice about the Gentiles, that they made sure in the translation where Yeshua is speaking, he speaks in Hebrew saying Saul, not Paul. But then as you get down to verse 5, they throw a Greek name in, not the Hebrew name. You have to learn to notice the tricks. Go ahead.
And he said, who are you, Adonai? And the Adonai said, I'm Yahshua. Whom
Now he said the other part in Hebrew, but he jumped to a Greek Latin hybrid of himself in verse 5. All right, I need you to pay attention to that. Pay attention. Go ahead.
Which during this time the J
didn't even exist. All right, so he couldn't even possibly have said, I am Jesus. All right. So even by their own lie, he would have said, I am Jesus. Now, why would, if we're not supposed to even mention the name of other gods and let it come out of our mouth, why would he say Zeus coming out of his mouth? See, you gotta learn how to put pieces together. Learn how to put them pieces together. Go ahead.
I am Yahshua whom you persecuted. It is hard for you to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Adonai, what will you have me to do? And the Adonai said unto him, Arise and go into the city, and it shall be told you what you must do.
This is where Saul differs from everybody else. People always talk about, I really deal with Paul, man. I really can connect with him. No, they can't. Because when Paul was corrected, he changed. See, that's the difference. Most of the individuals you find will not be corrected. He's not only brought up in this, all right? He feels confident in what he's doing. Once he gets corrected, it's done. He's not having any backsliding like, yeah, I'm going to follow you, Yahshua. you know what, I'm gonna hang like just 2 more brothers. All right, just 2 more. No. When he stopped, he stopped. That's the difference with us today. People want to try to act like they can deal with him. No, you can't. Because when you're raised in something, it is deeply embedded in you. But in that instance, it's gone. From that day forward, it's gone. That's what real change is. Go ahead.
And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man. But they led him by the hand, and brought him into Damascus.
Now, you have to consider something. If you have been going into people's house, snatching them out of their house, now you can't see. Do you realize the vulnerability that's happening right now? Do you understand what? See, you really have to examine some things to see how Yahweh works. Oh, you the man. You got letters. Now you can't even see the letters that you have that gives you the authorization to run in somebody's house and drag them unto the temple to be punished. Look at how Yahweh takes that. And he's now completely vulnerable. Now, he don't know if as they're walking, if that's somebody's family that they just passed, who he just snatched out and drugged to be punished. He can't even see if he walked past one of them. No, this vulnerable state right here. See, this is how Yahweh starts working on you. This is when we start running. When Yahweh starts to make us vulnerable, I got to run. You can't see where you're running to. This is the beginning of working on him. He took his sight. Go ahead.
And he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him said the Adonai in a vision, Ananias, and he said, Behold, I am here, Adonai. And the Adonai said unto him, Arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Yehudas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prays.
Now, this is getting confusing because why would you hear him pray? Go ahead.
And has seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in, and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, Adonai, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he has done to your saints at Jerusalem.
Hold on. So, Yahshua sent him to somebody that don't even like him. But this, also pay attention to what's happening here. See, when Yahshua gives you a job, it's not about who you like, what you like, and all that. It ain't about you. Do the job. He makes his complaint, but he does his job. Go ahead.
And here he has authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on your name.
That's them letters. Go ahead.
But the Adonai said unto him, Go your way, for he's a chosen vessel unto me.
Right. I ain't got to explain to you why I chose him. If I got to explain it to you, then you the boss. You the Adonai. Go your way. Go ahead.
To bear my name before the Gentiles, and kings, and the children of Israel.
Now, you have to look at the brilliance of Yahweh in allowing this to happen to Saul, the very one who has done all this havoc. Now, his job is going to cause nothing but havoc to come to him. See, this is where, you know, the line gets drawn from all those people who like to deal with Saul on the surface. When it comes down to persecution for the word's sake, oh, they out. They can't take that. This is what his walk began with. It began with him losing his sight. Persecution. And his entire walk, persecution. But what did he do before he got in the word? Persecution. So part of his salvation is connected to righting the wrongs that he had done before, but not the same individuals. Yahweh don't have you to go find everybody that you did wrong. No, you're going to go do some good over here. Go ahead.
For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake.
I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. So I picked somebody who was very well in causing suffering. I picked somebody to go suffer for my name's sake who've been on the other side of suffering. Go ahead.
You know, that's the biggest thing with us, is that you get that baptism and you don't look that you've been 35 years of a creep, but in 35 minutes after your baptism, you think everything's supposed to clear up. You haven't righted any wrongs yet.
Right. See, this is working out your salvation. See, Yeshua didn't say, you know, how is it, you have those people that think that they're going to mock Elohim. Well, they're going to do all the dirt they're going to do, and then they're just going to jump in the water and get baptized. See, that's the mindset that was given us from Christianity, but it really didn't come from Christianity. It came from other gods that they worship, that they pushed into Christianity. So that's why Christianity gets a bad rap. All of those things didn't come from that. It got merged in there. So then that's why you have the mindset that people can do all the dirt that they want to do, get down to their last dying day and just say, forgive me, Jesus. And everything's over. Hope they woke up in heaven. Because they said those last words. It says that, oh, forgive me, Jesus, right before they died. You keep believing that if you want to. Your heart going to be broke when you wake up. And if he's done all this and people say, well, you know, once saved, always saved. Hold on. Once he accepted Yeshua, why did he still have to go through suffering? Why did he have to suffer for his name's sake? If all of that stuff is just wiped away and you ain't got to do nothing for the stuff that you done committed. Right. That's why they don't like him. See, this is why they think he's contradictory. Go ahead.
Even with that, you know, we've got Hebrews who've got this thought process, like you're saying, about doing all your dirt and then getting baptized. And here's the problem. We know most things aren't accounted on to you until you're 20 years old. But they figuring after I get 20, I can still do my dirt and get the baptism and all that's going to be washed away. Now, when you get 20, all that's on your charge account. You're going to have to pay for that. I don't care if you baptize or not. You're going to have to work that out.
You have to take into consideration, especially if you've been raised in the Word. You have to deal with some people who were raised outside of the Word. Then there are those that have grown up in the Word. Because you say you know, you have no cloak for your sin. Your very determination that you are smart is what makes you dumb. It said, because you have known, therefore you have no cloak for your sin. So you can't jump on one side, claim how much you understand, then when it comes time for judgment, well, you know, I'm just 19 and a half. Right. So he said, all right, well, I'll just put 19 and a half of you in the fire. How about that? Go ahead, bro.
Acts chapter 9 and verse 17. And Ananias went his way and entered into the house, and putting his hands on him said, Brother Saul, the Adonai, even Yeshua that appeared unto you in the way as you came with, hath sent me.
And I'm doing my job. He has sent me. Now, I don't particularly like you. All right? Let's just go ahead and get that. Let's go ahead and clear that right there. See? Everybody think it's all about who we like. Yo, we don't care who you like. He don't like him. I've heard of many people about this man and all the havoc he has wreaked upon the church. All the people that he done drug up in there. And he got letters. He got letters, Adonai. He can do that and nobody's going to say anything to him. But he doing his job. He don't particularly like his job, but he doing his job. Go ahead.
You doing that job with fear and trembling. What if he turn around and snatch me up?
Exactly. Now, this is the only time I got to kill him, Adonai. I mean, look, he can't see me. Look, he don't even know I'm moving. So what happened? He wake up. Oh, you know. You have to wonder if he gave him a little speech. All right, now, look, I'm putting my hands on you now. Now, hey, and they told me to put my hands on you now. You understand? Look, now don't come out of this swinging. They one of my kids. That's how you had to wake him up. And you had to push him and step back because he wake up swinging. That's his first thing. What the hell is wrong with you? So, hey, he got to wonder, what's going to happen right here? Because he got a reputation. Okay? Go ahead.
That you might receive your sight and be filled with the Holy Spirit. And immediately there fell from his eyes as it had been scales.
This is also what's happening to other folks. Them scales ain't came off their eyes. They got in the water, but they still got them scales on their eye. Go ahead.
And he received sight forthwith and arose and was baptized.
Immediately. Now, he done spent all his life doing this thing over here. He's been running with these people. He's been doing all of these things. But as soon as he got his correction, he changed his direction. Go ahead.
That was it, verse 18.
That was it. Let's go to Acts chapter 5. Acts chapter 5. And we're going to start that at verse 17.
Then the high priest rose up, and all they that were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees.
So understand something. You have these things that happen in Hebrew culture, that this belief that, you know, it's just the Jews against the Gentiles. Understand, there are many divisions of Jews. The Yehudim are very separated, just like you have all these denominations of Christianity. You also have denominations of Judaism. But when you acknowledge that, people think that you're some kind of cult leader. We got divisions right here in the book. Sadducees and Pharisees ain't the same group. And they ain't the same group with the sect of the Nazarenes, which is what Yahshua was. And that's just the major ones. Go ahead.
And were filled with indignation, and laid their hands on the apostles, and put them in the common prison.
One thing you have to find out about this word. They believed in the culture, even though they were wrong. They believed in the culture so strong that when you walked outside of it, they had no problem laying hands on you. I think we have done some people some injustice because we ain't laid no hands on them. I think maybe a few people would have acted a little bit better had they had some hands laid on them. See, them people didn't decide not to lodge on the Sabbath day against the wall because we sung some songs to them, because we said, you know, write the vision, make it plain. Now, you know why they didn't come back on that wall? Because they say, Lord, you about this wall one more time and I'm going to lay hands on you. From that time, again, no more did they come against that wall. See, some people have had injustices done unto them because ain't nobody laid hands on them. Go ahead.
But the angel of the Adonai by night opened the prison doors and brought them forth and said, Go, stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life. And when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came and found them not in the prison, they returned and told, saying, The prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keepers standing without before the doors. But when we had opened, we found no man within. Now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priest heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow. Then came one and told them, saying, Behold, the men whom you put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people.
Now, you know, they got a real problem right now. But watch the carnality of individuals. Go ahead.
Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned.
So they handling them with care. See, they probably did them like they did Dylan Roof. They took them by Burger King, you know. Go ahead.
And when they had brought them, they set them before the council, and the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that you should not teach in this name?
Stop. You put some people in jail. They are no longer in jail, but standing in the temple. Do you hear what they said? Didn't we tell you not to teach in his name? My first question would have been, how the hell y'all get out? The guard's still standing there. Ain't nobody walk past them. How y'all get out? But you see, when you got scales on your eyes, the things that are important unto you don't even make no sense unto nobody but you. Didn't we straightly threaten you not to teach in his name? Somebody in that room should have, excuse me, boss, excuse me, high priest, commander-in-chief, look, your highness, shouldn't we figure out how the hell they got out of jail? I mean, before we deal with, them teaching in the temple, shouldn't we have this conversation as to how they get past them gates and that guard? Because if we had that conversation, maybe we shouldn't be having this one. You understand what I'm saying to you? See, if you had the right conversation the right way, because when we had this conversation and you explained to me how you got out of jail and how you got past the guard, you know what? Never mind that teacher. Never mind that dog. Hey, I'm out. You know what I'm talking about? That's it. We done talking. Go ahead.
And behold, you have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. Then Cephas and the other apostles answered and said, We ought to obey Elohim rather than men.
Mm-hmm. Now people like to quote this, but what they don't deal with, what if the words of men are the words of Elohim? What they do, they use this to do what they want to do. Say they believe and they see Saul as this lone ranger who does what he wants to do. But they don't understand. He's received instructions. And all that prior teaching is now coming into play. They think because he had this vision, that vision now drives the rest of everything. Like he got everything in that moment. Like it was the Matrix. He just took the right pill and all of a sudden, man, I know Kung Fu. That ain't what happened. Go ahead.
The Elohim of our fathers raised up Yahshua, whom you slew and hanged on a tree.
Yep, but you ain't seen nobody with no gold tree medallions, have you? Right. Go ahead.
Him has Elohim exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior, for to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins. And we are his witnesses of these things, and so is also the Holy Spirit, whom Elohim has given to them that obey him.
He has given to them that obey him. People say, well, I haven't received the Holy Spirit because you don't obey. They believe that they're going to still have the Spirit while they do whatever it is they want to do. And you are sadly mistaken. Go ahead.
When they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them.
And what happened? Soon as you speak that word and that word cut them, now they ready to cut you. Go ahead.
Then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel.
Okay, now listen now. This is a Pharisee named Gamaliel. Go ahead.
A doctor of the law, and in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space.
All right, go ahead.
And said unto them, You men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what you intend to do as touching these men. For before these days rose up Thaddeus, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain, and all, as many as obeyed him, were scattered and brought to naught. After this man rose up Yehudus of Galilee in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of Elohim, you cannot overthrow it.
If it be of Elohim, you cannot overthrow it. You can do whatever you want to do. You can steal things out the media room. You can take shows. You can take people. You can take whatever you want to take. You ain't going to overthrow it. Go ahead.
Least happily you be found even to fight against Elohim.
Happily found to fight against Elohim. But they don't see Elohim. They see men. So they think that they're fighting against men. Go ahead.
And to him they agreed. And when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yahshua and let them go.
Right. Look at what their issue was. Don't teach in this name. And you wonder why we had to get grown before we heard the name of Yahshua. That's because people were getting beaten not to use it. You think somebody went to seminary school and they ain't heard of the names of Yahweh and Yahshua? You are fooling yourself. That's like somebody going to medical school and they never heard of medicine. Yeah, they knew it. But they were threatened not to teach in that name. They always knew it. That was the confusing part that I had coming in this word. I was like, well, these people got doctorates, they got letters behind their name. How is it that this little bit of old man on Covenant Highway was telling me stuff that ain't nobody ever said? I ain't heard nowhere. And I done watched Eddie Wrong, TD Fakes. I done watched, Klepto Dollar. I done watched all of them, and I ain't never heard none of them things that little old man was saying. Now, how is it that little old man was smarter than them? Oh, it wasn't their intelligence that was the problem. They made agreements not to teach certain things. Took me a minute to figure that out. Oh, they know. They've always known. That's why you have even Jakes now want to say Yahshua. Now, when we first started saying, they told us we was in a cult. Then Joel Osteen, before him, started saying Yahshua. Talking about he eat and keep the dietary laws. And his church is a old baseball stadium. That's how big his church is. They always knew. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 41. And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name.
This is also a dividing line between Saul and all of these part-time Hebrews, these Hebrews that want to connect themselves to Saul. These people counted a joy to suffer for his holy name's sake. Go ahead.
And daily in the temple and in every house, they cease not to teach and preach Yahshua HaMashiach.
So that beating didn't stop them. They beat them, and they still went on doing everything that they were doing before. Let's go to our chapter 22. But see us, that would have been the end of some of our walk in the word.
Man, they beat me. I ain't dealing with Yahshua no more.
They got beat and said, oh my God, it's counted all joy. So people stand by and say, oh, they crazy.
They got to be crazy. Who would get beaten and then count it joy?
But how many of us remember our past before we got in the word? See, when somebody is able to remember their past, they realize they got to keep clocking in. But see, the people who believe that they ain't did no wrong.
Well, I can come, I can not come. It is all the same. Because I was almost perfect anyway.
Right, keep fooling yourself. Acts chapter 22, and let's read verses 1 through 10.
Men, brethren, and fathers, hear you my defense which I make now unto you. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence.
When they heard that he speak in the Hebrew tongue. Hebrew tongue, in other words, Hebrew language. So, when you get that other doctrine, and they spoke in tongues, and wait a minute. When he spoke in the Hebrew tongue. So now you got a whole twisted doctrine about what speaking in tongues is. Go down there to Klepto, and they got a class on it. Speak in tongues. You have to let your tongue go to the roof of your mouth and just make sound. And every now and then you just gotta, just out of nowhere, just randomly. So now they done made up something. Clearly, he's talking about a language. The Hebrew tongue. See, when it just says in the other places, and they spake in tongues, they spake different languages according to the individuals that were there. So then, if a Spanish man is here, then Yahweh gives you the ability to speak Spanish to the Spanish man. It's not the Spanish man's job to learn your language so he can learn about your God. Yet now, you got the Hebrews who speak Hebrew saying, well, you know what, you ain't really no Hebrew if you don't speak Hebrew. Now, you know this also come from the 1948 people. See, so they help the Hebrews now, our people who have learned Hebrew, and now they out teaching the same doctrine that they got from the 1948 Jews. Because see, they will partly accept them. You know, they can partly go and get accepted amongst the 1948 Jews. And that's all they are, 1948 Jews. It's a total difference between the ancient Hebrews. Go ahead.
And he said, I am verily a man which am a Yehudi, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel.
Wait a minute. Gamaliel, the one that we just heard who counseled the council, a doctor of the law. So this whole thing that Saul was just this apostle that God or Yahshua spoke to, and then he just went on this vainglorious mission and never got instructed, you're sadly mistaken. He admits that he was taught by this man. And you see the reputation that the man had, that they were getting ready to deal with some people, and it was Gamaliel they listened to. They ain't listen to other people. Understand, that's a rarity. And this is who taught him. So he fully believed in the things that were given unto him. But when he was corrected, he walked accordingly. Go ahead.
You know, even what you're saying about being taught, how can you be self-taught when you're raised in a community? We're all picking up something of culture or lack of culture. So you're being taught. So he was raised, he understood the culture, what we do and what we don't do. What he did not understand was Yahshua HaMashiach.
Exactly. That was the only thing he was lacking. All this other stuff, he knew it. He is more educated in the law than all the other disciples that Yahshua walked with. But understand something. Yahweh don't pick you according to your intelligence level. Uh-oh, I done heard some people feeling. Put your degree up. He don't choose you according to your intelligence level. He choose you according to what's in here. Go ahead.
And taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward Elohim, as you all are this day.
He was taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers. He wasn't self-taught. He was taught that in depth. So this is what causes an issue as he starts dealing with the Yehudim who are among the Gentiles. Then he's dealing with them on a level of the law that the Gentiles standing by couldn't even possibly understand the words that was coming out of his mouth. And understand what the New Testament is. When you read Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, these are letters. In this day and age, they are equivalent to emails. So you have some people that have based their entire religious life on emails. And they're on one-sided emails. Because we only have the one that he wrote. You don't have the email that was sent to him that he was responding to. So if you don't have any foundation of the law, you really don't understand anything that's going on in here. You just fooling yourself. Go ahead.
Just one thing coming to mind when you look at Saul and how he had to deal. You know, this day and age, you can see he's dealing back and forth. This day and age, somebody like me or yourself, they say, oh, he wishy-washy. When the brothers around, he hardcore talking with the brothers. But when the Gentiles come around, hey, the delivery is different.
Right.
The way is different. The way I got to talk to you and deliver to you is not his same journey or his same path.
Exactly. Exactly. But see, this is where keeping it real goes real wrong. A lot of brothers kept it real, and they down there in federal penitentiary right now. Go ahead.
And I persecuted this way on to the death.
Now, here's another separation between, all them people that say, I really deals with Paul. He admits his wrongdoing. Something that these vagabond Jews will not do. And if you look at most of the vagabond Jew gatherings, they all full of the same individuals, same type of individuals, who will not admit any wrongdoing. And everybody know they did wrong. Go ahead.
Binding and delivering into prison both men and women.
So ain't nobody got to tell his story. He can tell his own story. Yeah, I did this. Go ahead.
As also the high priest does bear me witness, and all the estate of the elders.
And as the high priest does bear me witness, he know what I did, because I brought him to him. Go ahead.
From whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were bound unto Jerusalem for to be punished.
We're going to go to other cities and go get them and bring them back. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that, as I made my journey and was come near unto Damascus about noon.
Okay, so I need to paint this picture for you. He on his way to do wrong. And then Yahshua show up. See, a lot of us, we want to glamorize ourselves.
I was just reading the Psalms and God talked to me. And he said, James, I said yes.
Nah, he on his way to doing some wrong. See, we don't want to admit when we got the inclination of the word.
I was climbing out of this window. And then...
Right. See, we want to glamorize our story. Go ahead.
Suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me. And I fell onto the ground and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecute you me?
Another point you got to understand. He said, why persecute you me? This is a spirit talking to him. Yeshua's not there in the flesh. But when he persecuted them people, Yeshua said, you persecuted me. Only if my vagabond Jews would understand this. That them people who you think you persecute, you might want to look at the job that they have been charged to do. You ain't persecuting them people. It ain't those people that you lying on. You have done that against Elohim. Go ahead.
Touching on verse 7, sort of what you were mentioning in verse 2, or you mentioned earlier about when Yahshua spoke to Saul and he called him Saul, Saul, his Hebrew name. What language did they say he was talking to the people in?
Hebrew.
Okay.
But once again, you know what's about to happen. Go ahead.
And I answered, who are you, Adonai? And he said unto me, I'm Yahshua of Nazareth.
You see what, Right. See? Go ahead.
whom you persecuted. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid. But they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. And I said, What shall I do, Adonai? And the Adonai said unto
Now
me,
he asked for instructions. Now he has been corrected. He's no longer going down this path again. But now with the same zeal that he has done wrong, he is now using that zeal to do right. And he got to pay for some things along the way. Go ahead.
Arise, and go into Damascus, and there shall be told you of all things which are appointed for you to do.
Check that out. Appointed for you to do. I already got jobs lined up for you, boy. I mean, I was on my way wrong. Yeah, I know you was on your way doing wrong. I already got jobs lined up for you. For me? I didn't even know I was going to be here. Yeah, you didn't know you were going to be here, but I did. I already got jobs lined up. As it is written, when a man's ways is pleasing unto Yahweh, he causes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Them people could have killed Saul when they first converted. And you find that there are situations where they keep pulling him out. This would be the perfect chance for something to happen to him. But Yahweh got some other Hebrews that's right around now that'll come and pull him out every time they get ready to kill him. But that's connected to the job. See? That is connected to the job. If Saul just want to sit around and hang and go to shindigs, ain't no need to keep saving him. Let him die. He ain't got no work to do. What we need to deal with him for? See, you got to put yourself in a situation where it is beneficial for your Elohim. We always praying about stuff that's beneficial to us. What benefit are you to your Elohim? Let me tell y'all something. That, when I got sick, let me tell y'all the official time for the COVID pay is 8 days. Let me tell you what my God did for me. I got paid. Now, I'm in the hospital. All my checks came. In July, to count. 8 days over here. Just put 8 days right here. All right, end of July, August, September, October. I didn't file disability until the middle of October. But these Gentiles, I wasn't supposed to get paid for 8 days. My hospital bill was over $1 million. I ended up getting a new position after 7 months of being out. Had to take some hours I wasn't happy about. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna miss an hour of Bible study. I said, well, I gotta take that to make sure I can do the Sabbath. Things didn't work out. I wasn't able to, and I was trying to join with them online. And the stuff didn't work out. I was so hot out. My family didn't even want to go near me. They were, leave him alone. Leave him alone. He couldn't do Bible study. He's not a pleasant person right now. Just you know, they just left me in the corner like a crazy cat. They just leave him alone. Just let him go over there and purr or something. Just leave him alone. I hear you, Rebecca. But closed mouth don't get fed. Now, I just come out of the little training. I ain't worked a full week yet. A full week. I went back to these Gentiles. Look, I need to see if I can figure out something because I want to get to my Bible study. They said, what time is it? I said, it's at 8 o'clock. They said, all right, let me check on something. They called me back yesterday, said, look, how about we can get you off at 7:30. Now, would you be okay getting off on 7:30 every day? I said, hell to the yes.
Hallelujah.
So I went from 9 o'clock to 7:30. They said, look, we don't know how fast we can make it happen. But that's going to be your schedule from now on. I said, take it.
Hallelujah.
Miss one Bible study. And I was so hot, but it drove me to go ahead and ask a question that I wasn't going to ask. Because you know, who want to ask questions and you ain't been in the job before they? How you doing? I knew you don't remember me because I, you know. You know, because I don't been here, you know, 3.5 days actually. Look at here. I got an issue. That ain't how you want to do that. But hey, when you take care of Yahweh's business, He takes care of your business. But you got people that keep wanting Yahweh to take care of their business, but they ain't taking care of none of his. Go ahead, bro.
That was the end of that Acts 22, verse 10.
All right, so now I want you to read these definitions because we want to deal with the apostle versus a disciple. You know, you don't have people running around calling themselves disciples. And when you understand the definition, you'll understand why people calling themselves apostles. Read the definition for apostle.
From G652, apostolos. From G649, a delegate, specifically an ambassador of the gospel, officially a commissioner of the Mashiach, apostle with miraculous powers.
Oh, we like to have those. Go ahead.
Apostle, messenger, he that is sent.
Okay, now look at the term disciple. Go ahead.
G3101, Matthias. From G3129, a learner. That is pupil, disciple.
That's a student. See, we don't want to be called no student.
No, I ain't no student. I am an ambassador with miraculous powers.
That's what we want. Right. Like they get a higher place in salvation. Okay. Let's go to Philippians chapter 3.
You know, looking at the situation of just Saul, by the time Yahshua got to him, he had already been a disciple under Gamaliel.
Of course. He had been completely taught. And then he was taught by a doctor of the law. I mean, this man knew the Pharisees are groups of people who are all strict about the law. And Gamaliel is a teacher of other teachers. Understand who you're working with here. Saul wasn't no slouch. You got folk that can't even stay awake during class. Talking about they deal with Paul. Quit fooling yourself. Go ahead.
Philippians chapter 3 and verse 1. Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Adonai. To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous, but for you it is safe. Beware of dogs. Beware of evil workers. Beware of the concision.
Right. Beware of dogs. Beware of evil workers. And them evil workers come and smile right in your face. Go ahead.
For we are the circumcision, which worship Elohim in the spirit.
Stop. We are the circumcision. So now you have a situation where this is being said directly to the children of Israel. So you got to understand, in several of these things, there are other people. Understand, Philippi is a place. You got to, but understand, you have Jews that are spread to these places. He still got to deal with them. So no, he ain't schizophrenic. He knows when these people in the room, he's got to deal a certain way. Go ahead.
And rejoice in the Mashiach Yahshua, and have no confidence in the flesh. Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinks that he has whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more. Circumcised the 8th day.
Now you see how he gonna go, first of all, in the beginning, finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Adonai, to write the same things to you, to me, indeed is not grievous. Beware of the dogs, beware of evil workers, beware of the concision. For we are the circumcision. So now that he is making sure that this is said to the children of Israel. Then verse 5, he goes into things that wasn't even given unto the Gentiles. Circumcised the 8th day. They wasn't even given circumcision. He's not a double-minded man. He's got to deal with different groups of people. There ain't no need to talk about circumcision unto Gentiles. There ain't no need to mention the priesthood to Gentiles. You don't hear him talking about the priesthood. You hear Cephas talking about the priesthood because he's talking to Israel. Go ahead.
Of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee.
Do you understand the breakdown that he just gave right there? He's going to all them Jews that want to test him. That's what this statement is. You know? This is what my brother would call, come test me now. That's what this is. All right? That's what verse 5 is. Verse 5, he could have just said, come test me now. That's what that circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law of Pharisee. What? Go ahead.
Concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for the Mashiach. Yea, doubtless, and I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of the Mashiach Yahshua my Adonai, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win the Mashiach.
Consider something. You're talking about what is he lost? Do you understand the authority that he lost by coming over to the side? Do you understand the power, the circumstance, the financial loss that he took to come on this side? See, that part ain't published. He's got to work odd jobs at times. It said his job was a tent maker.
People like, so you a priest of the congregation and you got a job?
Hell yeah. Because as soon as you teach this word and you hurt somebody feeling, they put one brown penny in that damn envelope.
Spin it well, nigga. Spin it well.
My God knew from the front,
Get that brother a job, because he gonna be ticking them off.
Go ahead.
You got to understand his position coming up under Gamaliel. You under the foot of the man. This is like Yahshua after Moshe. A lot of people ain't gonna test him.
Oh yeah. He is. When people don't realize what all was stated in verse 5, he is saying that to the Jews. Look, y'all walking around here teaching, but y'all ain't working what I'm working with. I keep hearing all these people throwing out my teacher name like they knew Elder Yaakov. You don't watch some old grainy VHS videos. You don't know my teacher.
Under the tutelage.
People say, under the tutelage of Elder Yaakov. My elder was dead when you showed up. The hell you talking about under the tutelage of Elder Yaakov? And if y'all got tender feelings with me, y'all definitely couldn't stand in the room with my teacher. He didn't care nothing about your feelings. He hurt my feelings constantly. But I never seen a man teach like that. So I put my feelings in a bag and I was back next Sabbath. And sometimes I had to talk to him.
Stay in that damn bag. Come on. Stay in that bag. Don't come out of here. Don't come out. You've embarrassed me when you come out. Just stay in there.
What? Read, brother.
Verse 9. And be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of the Mashiach, the righteousness which is of Elohim by faith. That I may know him, and the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his suffering, being made conformable unto his death, if by any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead. Not as though I had already attained, either were already perfect, but I follow after, if that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of the Mashiach Yahshua. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth onto those things which are before.
Right. All of us got a past. You can fool yourself if you want to, and you can try to sugarcoat your past, but we all got a past. Said, look, yeah, I did those things, but what I'm going to do is focus on what works I need to do going forward. But keeping those things in his mind, at least he could say, well, you know, it's time for me to rest. No, I know what dirt I did. So I'm going to keep on working. Go ahead.
I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of Elohim in the anointed one Yahshua.
Right. So he didn't have his own personal job and use all of the things that he got from the word to go and try to fuel his personal thing. Go ahead.
Let us therefore, as many as be perfect, be thus minded. And if in anything you be otherwise minded, Elohim shall reveal even this unto you. Nevertheless, whereto we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule. Let us mind the same thing.
Right. This is why you got to throw out them clicks. This is why the clicks got to get on the other side of the door. How we going to mind the same thing? How we going to walk in the same path when you got clicks set up that are against this thing? When you got people trying to sabotage the choir.
Turn that mic off.
No, you got to go. Go ahead.
You know, you said path, right? It's interesting. He said, let us walk by the same rules. So where do rules come from?
Right.
That's what people don't want, rules.
You know what? You're a cult leader. You made up rules.
Man, there's rules in everything you do. Gangs got rules. Go ahead.
Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so as you have us for an example.
All right. So now, brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so as you have us for an example. Understand something. We try to put everybody in the same boat and we're going to deal with them the same way. No, you set a difference between those that walk the way they're supposed to walk. And when you justify wickedness, you have condoned the evil that they do. Well, I'm just going to hang out with them. We friends. Right. You might as well, you co-sign on their wickedness. You co-signed on it. So when they spiritual loan come back in default, don't be looking surprised when you get called into the judgment seat. Then you signed this loan? No, I didn't. No. You knew what they did and you hung out with them, right? You took your family over there too, didn't you? No. You hung out with them and you knew what they were doing. No. You co-signed this. No, ain't this your signature? Yeah, this your signature. Right. Go ahead.
For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of the Mashiach.
Now, you know, this got to tick some people off. The same dude that was persecuting is now talking about the enemies of the Mashiach. But hey, he done made his change. Go ahead.
Whose end is destruction, whose Elohim is their belly.
Their Elohim is their belly. They do everything to try and get some kind of monetary gain. And everything they go out seeking for, crawling in the dark grass at night, trying to get, Yahweh give you in the clear of day. Go ahead.
And whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things.
Their glory is in their shame. That deep right there. That deep right there. Go ahead.
For our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, the Adonai, Yahshua HaMashiach, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself.
Right. It is the lust of the flesh that causes us to do a whole lot of things. So if our body then becomes fashioned like his, then those earthly desires that draw us out won't be able to do that to us anymore. So there's certain things that as fleshly individuals we can't even wrap our mind around. It's hard for a man to think about.
You mean tell me like I look at a woman and I won't want a woman? No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of life. I don't know if that's for me.
Hey, with that new body, the woman ain't gonna want you either. She gonna what you in here for?
Huh? I don't know. I'm just used to being in here. Well, you need to go on about here. We got some work to do. All right, well, let's go to work then.
We can't even, our mind won't let us go there because that's where the flesh is. Imagine all that being taken out of the way. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11.
Would to Elohim you could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me. For I'm jealous over you with godly jealousy. For I've espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to the Mashiach. But I fear, lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in the Mashiach. For if he that comes preaches another Yahshua,
All right, another doctrine.
whom we have not preached, or if you receive another spirit, which you have not received, or another gospel,
Or another gospel. He covering all bases. Go ahead.
which you have not accepted, you might well bear with him.
And see, why do we allow people to come in with another doctrine? Following another spirit. How does that person get to work the room? That means there's other people in the room that ain't doing their job. Go ahead.
For I suppose I was not a whit behind the very chiefest apostles, but though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge. But we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things. I have committed an offense in abasing myself that you might be exalted, because I have preached to you the gospel of Elohim freely.
Right. I have preached to you the gospel of Elohim freely. Y'all know when you came to before you came here, all them other places charge you $29.99 DVD fee. They give you 3 scriptures on Sunday. You had to pay $39.99 for the first DVD and $49.99 for the second. Go ahead.
I robbed other churches, taking wages of them to do you service. And when I was present with you and wanted, I was chargeable to no man.
I was chargeable to no man. Ain't an individual in here paid my bill. And Yahweh makes sure it's so. He said, I made sure I was chargeable to no man. I took stuff from other congregations where I was to supply here. Why? Because he know the mind of people.
Everything you get, I bet my offering bought that.
Now, in case you ain't heard, I have what they call a jobby job. Read, bro.
For that which was lacking to me, the brethren which came from Macedonia supplied.
For that which was lacking to me, other brothers gave. They are faithful people that are part of this congregation that y'all ain't never seen. Go ahead.
And in all things I have kept myself from being burdensome unto you.
In all things I have kept myself from being burdensome unto you. When we got these cameras, these $1,000 cameras, there was a brother that told me all you had to do was tell me and I would have bought them cameras. I said, I know that. But I can't offer that unto my Elohim, that which costs me nothing. Read, brother.
And so will I keep myself. As the truth of the Mashiach is in me, no man shall stop me of this boasting in the regions of Achaia. Wherefore? Because I love you not, Elohim knows, but what I do, that I will do, and that I may cut off occasion from them which desire occasion, that wherein they glory, they may be found even as we. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of the Mashiach.
For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of the Mashiach. So you have Saul, who got to deal with the Gentiles fighting him and the Jews. And that's a different swing. They punch different. Go ahead.
And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works.
Whose end shall be according to their works. They can believe that they're getting away until that day of judgment come. Go ahead.
I say again, let no man think me a fool. If otherwise, yet as a fool receive me, that I may boast myself a little. That which I speak it not after the Adonai, but as it were foolishly, in this confidence of boasting.
In other words, y'all running off at the mouth so much, you done tick me off. So I'm finna go here with you. Go ahead.
Seeing that many glory after the flesh, I will glory also. For you suffer fools gladly, seeing you yourselves are wise. For you suffer if a man bring you into bondage, if a man devour you, if a man take of you, if a man exalt himself, if a man smite you on the face. I speak as concerning reproach, as though we had been weak. Howbeit, wheresoever any is bold, I speak foolishly. I am also bold. Are they Hebrews? So am I.
Here you go again. Here you go again. On one side, this is what causes the confusion. They say, well, he's the father of Christianity, but he keeps saying these Hebrew things. So they don't know how to take him. Go ahead.
Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Are they ministers of Yahshua? I speak as a fool. I am more.
Now, why is he more? Because when the things happen to him, instead of taking off running, he's dealing with it. Go ahead.
I am more, and labors more abundant, and stripes above measure, and prisons more frequent, and deaths oft.
Right. These are the things he brag about. The sufferings that he has had to overcome because he knew what he put out. See, people are talking about overcoming, but then as soon as something happened in their house, you realize, oh no, you don't overcome. You're just telling us to overcome. Saul didn't go around teaching it, and then when it come to him, he wasn't going to do it. No, he did it. You can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. Go ahead.
Of the Yehudis 5 times received I 40 stripes save one.
Now, who beat him?
The Yehudis.
5 times. Yeah. No. Let's slow down. Of the Jews, 5 times received our 40 stripes, save one. That's 39 times 5. Okay, that's 5 different times he got them stripes. So 5 times the 39. We get 1. We done. We out. All you see is the back of our head going down. Talking about you a servant of Yahweh. You're a servant of yourself. And you don't even serve yourself well. Go ahead, brother.
3 times was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned.
3 times I was beaten with rods. And we claim to be servants. Soon as something don't go our way.
Well, you know, I wanted them to paint that wall blue, and they painted it gold. I can't stay there.
Read, bro.
3 times I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day I have been in the deep. In journeyings often. In perils of waters. In perils of robbers.
In perils often. I'm constantly in danger. But we think we working. Go ahead.
In perils by mine own countrymen. In perils by the heathen.
In perils by my own countrymen and the heathen. Go ahead.
In perils in the city. In perils in the wilderness. In perils in the sea. In perils among false brethren.
Oh, you're going to have those right there. I don't care where you at. You're going to have them perils of false brethren. Check that out. In perils in the wilderness. You go in the wilderness so you can hide from knuckles. You got perils out there too. Go ahead.
In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and nakedness. Beside those things that are without, that which comes upon me daily, the care of all the churches.
The care of all the churches and my own personal business. Go ahead.
Who is weak? And I am not weak? Who is offended? And I burn not? If I must needs glory, I will glory of the things which concern mine infirmities.
If I must needs glory, I will glory of the things which concern mine infirmities. He said, I had a thorn in the flesh, and I prayed to my Adonai thrice, and it was given unto me, shown me, his grace is sufficient. He wouldn't take it away. Would we have even mentioned the thorn? Go ahead, brother.
The El and Father of our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, which is blessed forevermore, knows that I lie not. In Damascus, the governor under Aretas, the king, kept the city of the Damascenes with a garrison, desirous to apprehend me. And
with a garrison, they ready to do him bodily harm, and they just got it ready just in case they catch him. That's like them having,
Look, man, get that electric chair and keep that power supply right there just in case we catch him, because we want to fry him quick, because he's slippery.
Go ahead.
And through a window in a basket was I let down by the wall and escaped his hands.
Right. These other people that are helping him escape these things. These are other individuals. So now, being in charge of giving out persecution, now he has to depend on other individuals. See, this is part of him working out his salvation. So that whole, you just gonna come in the word, even that lie that they teach on the corner, if you ever on one of them purple corners, and they say you are washed with the word. Hey, why wasn't he washed with it? He knew more word than any of us. Yahshua spoke to him personally. He could have just went in and after that just wandered the earth like Cain in Kung Fu. Why he had to do anything? Right. Let's go to Romans chapter 11. See, a lot of times people say, the Old Testament confuses them or it makes them feel a certain way. Let me tell you something. You read the New Testament the right way, you're going to feel the same way. See, what happens is they sugarcoat a lot of these things. But when you deal with it in its entirety, you find some very rough stuff going on in the New Testament. People think, all that harsh stuff is in the Old Testament. No, you just ain't reading the new one right. Romans 11, let's start that at verse 1.
I say then, has Elohim cast away his people? Elohim forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
You see, he going once again. He's constant with who he is. He's constant about the culture that he follows. This is why it causes a problem, because we are accepting the image that was given unto us. And the image that was given to us was the image of a Gentile teaching Gentile-like things. So then when you start examining what's written, you think, man, this is not consistent. Go ahead.
Elohim has not cast away his people which he foreknew. Know you not what the scripture says of Elias, how he makes intercession to Elohim against Israel, saying, Adonai, they have killed your prophets and digged down your altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what says the answer of Elohim unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men whom have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal.
Right. In other words, he has reserved a remnant that's going to do what it is they're supposed to do. It says he made this intercession against Israel. Israel killing the prophets. Israel killing the bringers of the word. That's us. When we get cut to the heart, we're ready to cut somebody. Instead of taking out our frustration, because who you got a problem with is Yahweh. That's who you got a problem with. Go ahead.
Even so then, at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise work is no more work.
And if you don't understand what he's talking about there, the work that he's talking about is animal sacrifice. See, then people take this out of context. You see, I ain't got to have no works. Then you read, faith without works is dead. Now you think this New Testament is convoluted too. It's just one minute they say it's not of works, and then they said, without works you're dead. Go ahead.
What then? Israel has not obtained that which he seeks for, but the election has obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, Elohim has given them the spirit of slumber.
Right. So when you see somebody, you keep trying to explain to them, and they keep thinking that it's all your perception. Yahweh done gave them the slumber of their eyes. You can try to explain to them all day if you want. They ain't gonna see. Go ahead.
Eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear.
Ears that they should not hear. You can talk all night. He has given them the spirit of slumber. Everybody in the room see it except them. Go ahead.
On to this day. And David says, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Elohim forbid. But rather through their fall salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
Right. So then understand, you then have a people who are getting punished at the same time the door is opening to another group of individuals. Understand, Saul got to deal with all that. He's got to deal with the punishing of one group and the opening of the door to another group. Go ahead.
Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office.
Right. The apostle of the Gentiles was a Hebrew. Don't ever let anybody tell you different. He had said it over and over and over again. The teacher of the Gentiles was a Hebrew. Go ahead.
If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them.
Obviously, he's letting you know that he's talking about two different groups of people. Now they show us the Jews and the Gentiles, and they both look alike. Imagine that. But everything in this book shows them being separate. What did they say about Saul? Ain't you that Egyptian which led? Since when a Gentile has ever been confused with an Egyptian? Even if you take the people who are in Egypt now, who we know ain't ancient Egyptians, you still can't confuse them for white people. Go ahead.
For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
Now some Gentiles accepted this, righteously. Then there was others that came to use that. So you can't put all the Jews in one boat, and you can't put all the Gentiles in one boat either. You're going to have a problem either way if that's what your plan is. Because you got wicked on both sides, and you got righteous on both sides. Go ahead.
And if some of the branches be broken off, and you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partaketh of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if you boast, you beareth not the root, but the root you.
Right. When y'all came here, there was a congregation already set up. You were engrafted into a tree that was already here. You don't come into a tree that was already set up and then start boasting against the tree. Go ahead.
You will say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and you standeth by faith. Be not high-minded, but fair. For if Elohim spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not you. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Elohim.
Right. What we want to deal with is just the goodness. The goodness and severity of Elohim. We don't want to deal with any severity. Anytime we get some severity, something must be wrong. All we want to do is accept goodness. Even when we doing lies and deceit, we still want goodness. Go ahead.
On them which fell, severity.
On them which fell. Go ahead.
But toward you, goodness, if you continue in his goodness.
Right. You get goodness if you continue to walk in his goodness. But if not, you get the severity. And we ain't got to read the Old Testament to read that. But what happened was, when this verse came in, there was some singing and shouting to take your mind off the what's on the paper. Go ahead.
Otherwise, you also shall be cut off.
Otherwise, you also shall be cut off. No, they ain't going to read that because it does not go with the doctrine, once saved, always saved. This is why now Saul is looked at like he is contradictory to himself. Because other doctrines that have came in, once saved, always saved, then he talking about if you don't continue to walk in the goodness, you're getting cut off. You can't read that if you teach once saved, always saved. You got to cherry pick that. You got to jump right over that. Go ahead.
And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For Elohim is able to graft them in again. For if you were cut out of the olive tree which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
Right, which is going to shock the world when Israel is grafted back into their own tree. They have allowed through the power of their media to control how we are perceived as people. So Yahweh is going to do a wonderful work before all the eyes of the earth when he regrafts Israel back into our own tree. Go ahead.
For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part has happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
And the fullness of the Gentiles is the time that they were given to rule upon the earth. And it says blindness in part is going to be there upon Israel until their time of rule is up. And that's something that we have to really consider. How do you have a nation already set up being Jews while the Gentiles are still ruling? Their time ain't came in yet. See, a lot of people think, you go in that Old Testament, you're going to find all these problems. Just stay out of it. Oh, no. I found a problem right here. If blindness in part is happening to the Jews in a great amount until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in, how would the Jews already have their own country set up at the same time the Gentiles are ruling? And how on earth would the Gentiles be the ones to put them in the land, seeing that you're the one that broke it up? You're the one that went in there and invaded and killed 1.2 million Jews and sent the rest to go work in the salt mines. And brought others, scattered a great deal, and then put the rest in your coliseums. That's why we rich sports stars today. The same thing they was doing then. And we get off into the same thing when we get off into them sports. The same thing that they were doing then. Let's go to Acts chapter 13. Acts chapter 13, and we're going to read verses 42 through 52.
Verse 42. And when the Yehudis were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath.
All right. You then have to look at, he is teaching amongst two different groups of individuals. See, sometimes people have a real problem when I say stuff like there are two paths to salvation. They get angry. They want to have that one size fits all. Go ahead.
Now when the congregation was broken up, many of the Yehudis and religious proselytes followed Saul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of Elohim. And the next Shabbat day came almost the whole city together to hear the word of Elohim.
You see, the Gentiles who claim that they don't know when the Sabbath is, who now claim in Sunday morning, every day holy. Yet when they first heard this word, they heard it on the Sabbath day. So that means the change that came is a change that they made. Go ahead.
But when the Yehudis saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy, and spake against those things which were spoken by Saul, contradicting and blaspheming.
But you see who he having a problem with? His own people. Go ahead.
Then Saul and Barnabas waxed bold, and said, It was necessary that the word of Elohim should first have been spoken to you. But seeing you put it from you, and judge yourselves unworthy of everlasting life, lo, we turn to the Gentiles. For so has the Adonai commanded us, saying, I have set you to be a light of the Gentiles, that you should be for salvation unto the ends of the earth. And when the Gentiles heard this, they were glad, and glorified the word of the Adonai. And as many as were ordained to eternal life believed. And the word of the Adonai was published throughout all the region. But the Yehudis stirred up the devout and honorable women.
Right, but you see who they go to stir up. Right. You see who they stirring up. Because see, here's the thing. If you stir up the woman, you stir up the man by stirring up the woman. Because she gonna stir him. Ain't that how the adversary work? He wanted to get the man to eat. But instead of going to the man, he went to the woman, and then she convinced him. Go ahead.
And the chief men of the city, and raised persecution against Saul and Barnabas, and expelled them out of their coasts. But they shook off the dust of their feet against them, and came unto Iconium. And the disciples were filled with joy and with the Holy Spirit.
All right, let's go to our Acts chapter 21. And we're going to start that at verse 17.
And when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. And the day following, Saul went in with us unto Jacob, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things Elohim had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Adonai, and said unto him, You seest, brother, how many thousands of Yehudis there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law.
All right, now, you start to get the area where people think is contradictory. Go ahead.
And they are informed of you, that you teachest all the Yehudis which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moshe.
You see that? Now, where people think that he has an issue, the issue is the people who are surrounding him. He's got different groups of people, and now some are saying, well, he taught this to them. No, I taught that to the Gentiles. I taught the Jews this. They said, and they are informed of you, that you teach all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moshe, which is the law. You teaching them to forsake the law. So now he got to deal with this. Go ahead.
You know, when you go back to verse 13, we see where that all begins, that whole animosity is beginning and it's spreading.
They had animosity for a long time. So that's one thing about it. People smile at you. You ain't seen that animosity yet. Go ahead.
Saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that you are come.
Right.
Do therefore this, that we say to you, we have 4 men which have a vow on them. Them take and purify yourself with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed concerning you are nothing, but that you yourself also walk orderly and keeps the law.
Check that out. He ain't had to do that among the Gentiles. He got to do that among the Jews so that he can show that his walk agrees with the things contained in the law. He ain't had to do that among the Gentiles. They say, hey, the Jews, hey, you know they'll string you up now. So you need to make a display to let these people know that you walk in the law. Go ahead.
As touching the Gentiles which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing.
And how is it difficult for people to realize that there are two paths? When he says one thing in one verse, and the next verse he says, into the Gentiles we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing. How can you not see the two paths? Go ahead.
Save only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols, and from blood, and from strangled, and from fornication. Then Saul took the men, and the next day purifying himself with them, entered
now
into the
understand,
temple.
now don't take this out of context, only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols. Do you know how deep idol worship is with Gentiles? That just went into all their holy days, their holidays. That just went into all that. And from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication. There's fornication natural, and there's fornication spiritual. There's a whole lot contained in those few words right there. Go ahead.
To signify the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. And when the 7 days were almost ended, the Yehudis which were of Asia, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him.
You see that? See that? See, this is what I say. You know, folks will stop being so unruly if hands got laid on them from time to time. You run off at the mouth, and some hands get laid on you, you're going to learn to keep your mouth shut after that. Go ahead.
Crying out, Men of Israel, help! This is the man that teaches all men everywhere against the people, and the law, and this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple, and has polluted this holy place. For they had seen before with him in the city Trophimus, an Ephesian, whom they supposed that Saul had brought into the temple.
Only because they saw him with him, they said he must have brought him in the temple. Now, they ain't seen him. They just say he must have. Go ahead.
And all the city was moved, and the people ran together. And they took Saul and drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut. And as they went about to kill him, tidings came unto the chief captain of the band, that all Jerusalem was in an uproar, who immediately took soldiers and centurions and ran down unto them. And when they saw the chief captain and the soldiers, they left beating of Saul.
Right. And you talk about all of these things happening. He's continuing to do his work no matter what. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. Romans chapter 2, and let's start that at verse 9.
Tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that does evil, of the Yehudi first, and also of the Gentile.
Right. If the Yehudis are cut off, then why does tribulation and anguish come upon us first? This is the order that is set forth by Elohim. But then we whine when it comes to us. Go ahead.
But glory, honor, and peace to every man that works good, to the Yehudi first, and also to the Gentile.
But we want that part though. We want the glory and honor. We want all that first. Go ahead.
For there is no respect of persons with Elohim.
And this is not respect of persons, this is order. Go ahead.
For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law, and as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law.
And we've all heard the term, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. For as many as have sinned without law shall die without law. As many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. One is judged, the other one dead. Go ahead.
For not the hearers of the law are just before Elohim, but the doers of the law shall be justified.
Right, so we just can't come and hang out and use this as some kind of shindig where we get to hear some nice things, but we ain't gonna walk in none of it. Go ahead.
For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves.
Right. So they getting extra credit by walking in the things that we supposed to be walking in, and we getting regular credit. Go ahead.
Which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. In the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men by Yahshua HaMashiach, according to my gospel.
In the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men. We all got those. Go ahead.
Behold, you are called a Yehudi, and resteth in the law, and make your boast of Elohim, and knoweth his will, and approveth the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law.
How are the Jews instructed?
Out of the law.
The Gentiles are not instructed out of the law. It says the Gentiles which have not the law. But then it says that the Jews are instructed out of the law. So we have been poisoned against the law that we're supposed to receive instruction out of. Go ahead.
And are confident that you yourself are a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. You therefore which teaches another, teach you not yourself? You that preaches a man should not steal, does you steal? You that saith a man should not commit adultery, does you commit adultery? You that abhor idols, does you commit sacrilege?
All this is in our law. Go ahead.
You that maketh your boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonoreth you Elohim? For the name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written.
So check that out. The name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles because they see that you say you're a Hebrew, but then they also see what it is you do. Now he's getting the blasphemy because of your deeds. You think he's gonna let that slide? You have dirtied up his holy name. Go ahead.
For circumcision verily profits, if you keep the law. But if you be a breaker of the law, your circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature...
Uncircumcision, when they mention that, they're talking about the Gentiles. When it says circumcision, it's talking about the children of Israel. Go ahead.
If it fulfill the law, judge you, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law? For he is not a Yehudi which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh. But he is a Yehudi which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit and not in the letter, whose praise is not of Elohim, but of men.
Not of men, but of Elohim, whose praise is not of men, but of Elohim. Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7, and we're going to read verses 1 through 25.
Know you not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives.
So then now, as he makes this statement, he's going to repeat that or go deeper into that with the understanding of something that's written in the law. Go ahead.
For the woman which has an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he lives. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband.
So if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. He's using that, dealing with the law and explaining how the law has dominion. But then there's something to say, I'm not subject to the law. Go ahead.
So then if, while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress.
Now, you know this is a big problem. You can't read this on Sunday morning. You know how many people in the room that done been married to other people in the room, who've been married to other people in the room, who've been married to other people in the room? See, this is why they say, you know, it's just contradictory. No. This is biblical law. And see, we like to give that Sunday morning count while we only count what's in front of us right now. See? We don't count what we did on the business trip.
What happens in Cancun stays in Cancun.
Don't worry. Y'all, we're going to have Cancun judgment. Yep. He going to bring the pineapples and your coconuts. They going to all be in judgment.
Go ahead, won't sip on this. Yeah, wasn't that what you're sipping on when you was in Cancun? All right, now, y'all bring up the display of Cancun. We're about to have Cancun judgment.
Yeah, don't worry. He got that too. Go ahead.
But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. Wherefore, my brethren, you also are become dead to the law by the body of the Mashiach, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that he should bring forth fruit unto Elohim.
Now, if you don't understand that there are three facets to the law, then some of these things, when it brings up law, and people saying, well, we're not subject unto the law, they don't understand what direction it's speaking of. It's dealing with sacrificial law. But then they turn around and talked about committing adultery and all these other things. Then this is your moral law. Every bit of that is still in effect. But if you don't know that, then this seems contradictory. It seems like Paul is contradicting himself. Go ahead.
For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sins, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter.
Right. We don't have to do the animal sacrifice. We are freed from that portion of the law. Do you know how much of a burden that would have been on Israel? He scatters us all across the globe. Then when we commit sin, we can't do any sacrifice because we are in other people's lands. You understand how that would have destroyed our people morally inside? We can't make a sacrifice for our sin. So this got to go before he goes to the next phase, because you can't take that with you. You ain't finna have no temple by way of, because I'm about to knock that down. Go ahead.
What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Elohim forbid. No, I had not known sin but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, you shall not covet. But sin, taken occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence. For without the law, sin was dead. For I was alive without the law once. But when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. And the commandment which was ordained to life, I found to be unto death.
So once Yahshua comes into your life, brings you to understanding, there has to be a new beginning in your life from that point. Because you are definitely being judged from the moment he gives you that understanding. And then things will keep happening to us, and we can't put two and two together to figure out why those things keep happening. When Yahweh brought that understanding to me, that a man was not supposed to be delivering a child, I decided, you know what, because we already in, month 8. If we have another child, I'll make sure that child don't have no man doctor. Yahweh was like, this fool don't know who I am. My whole house went through hell. The whole delivery was what took 24 hours. That boy right there. I caused the whole thing. Why? Because I didn't follow it when Yahweh gave it to me. His mama about to lose her life, bringing him to life. She exhausted. And then it hit me again. This is my fault. She looking at me like, what are you talking about? When Yahweh told me there wasn't no man supposed to be in here, I was supposed to throw him out. and I didn't do it. And now all these problems with this delivery, this is my fault. Yahweh, I'm sorry. Right after that, Yahweh was like, all right, let the baby come. Like it was nothing. I wasn't waiting on Yahweh. Yahweh waiting on me.
You say I'm waiting on Yahweh?
No. You're like, no, I'm here. You ain't waiting on me. I'm right here. I'm right here. You ain't waiting on me. I'm waiting on you. Go ahead, bro.
For sin, taking occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew me. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? Elohim forbid. But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold unto sin. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I.
Now, are we real enough to be honest with ourselves? See, when somebody got a vent against themselves, it's a strange place. Go ahead.
If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Now then it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwells no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not.
Right. I know I'm supposed to be at Bible study.
But you know, Keisha has asked me to run her around the corner to the fish market, and then after that we gonna go. Right. I know I'm supposed to be.
Go ahead.
For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me.
Right. Instead of running away from that law, I'm going to run to that thing that's going to cut me, hoping that I would be strengthened to get myself together. Go ahead.
For I delight in the law of Elohim after the inward man. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members.
Right. You have the spirit and the flesh are enmity against one another. In other words, they are adversaries. Your spirit fights your flesh, and your flesh fights your spirit. You have to decide which one you gonna let win. And don't fool yourself. Spirit ain't always gonna win, because sometimes you're gonna help the flesh.
Well, I mean, I know what the words say, and I know I probably shouldn't. I mean, what I'm saying is, just sit here with me for a second. I'm just.
Read, bro.
Oh, wretched man that I am.
Oh, wretched man that I am. You ain't never had one of these moments, something wrong with you. Are you not being truthful with yourself? Go ahead, bro.
Who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank Elohim through Yahshua HaMashiach, our Adonai. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of Elohim, but with the flesh, the law of sin.
All right. Now, Saul was not a contradiction. He was a man who was charged with the duty to teach two different groups concerning the path that they must take to acquire salvation. At points, these two paths intersect, and at times, time sensitive. For instance, Yahshua instructs his disciples at one point to take nothing for their journey, and also told his followers to put down the sword. At the end of his work upon this earth, he told them to go get a sword. Yahshua was not a contradiction. Just as Saul was not a contradiction. They were both great men who were charged with instructing some very difficult people. Us. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.